I have a Kubernetes running, and if you look in this right-hand corner, I have I'm running in WebLogic operator namespace, and I have an admin server running with one managed server and the operator. So we've decided to use, for this release, we're scaling with WLDF, and we've chosen to use script action as our way of implementing the notification for scaling. And the script, I have a script that I've been working on called scaling action, which is in this window, which takes a set of parameters. So the same script can be applied to multiple rules, and you can supply these parameters in WLDF as part of its configuration for a rule, or a policy, I should say, or an action. And when the script runs, it'll do a curl request on the operator to scale, the cluster. So what I'll do is just show it from the script perspective right now. So I have it running. I have one managed server running. I have an admin server pod running. And in this lower left corner screen here, I'm shelled into the admin server's pod. So the script is deployed, or part of the domain, and I've copied in. And if I just run the script, I provide an action parameter called scale up. And when I run this, it's going to invoke the operator. And the operator should have received it. And what the operator ends up doing is validating that the configuration is correct in terms of the number of managed servers that are currently configured. And if we look at the number of pods running, we can see that it started to scale up by one. The script looks at the number of the current replica count of the domain and sees how many are running, and then we'll scale up by one. And the script itself is, the idea of the script or any application is they can figure out what how much they want to scale by based on whatever metrics they're using, load or whatever. But in this case, we're just scaling up by one. You can also scale down with Ryan's latest changes. And so if I describe the domain, let me see if you can see that what we did really is we just increased the replica count by 1 to 2, which is what the watch the watch on the operator will fire, and then we'll do the appropriate scale up or scale down based on the count of the replica. So if I were to scale down, it should hopefully, scale down. If we look at the running pods again, we'll see that it's actually terminating and in this case it happens to be the last pod that it started, but it's terminating that pod, so it is scaling down. It's going to take a bit on my machine, but so if we go back and describe it again, you can see that it changed back down to 1 on the scale down for this cluster. So the script really just figures out what the what's running. So it'll query actually the API server and the domain to know what replicas are running at the currently, and then it'll scale up or scale down by 1. You can change those values or logic. You can implement an application or the script logic to figure out how many it should scale by, right? So this is just a simple script, which is just scaling up by 1 or scaling down by 1 currently. But those are all properties that can be changed, or like I said, you can implement some more logic that would figure out based on the metrics that the script or the application wants to determine how much to scale by. I've got WLDF actually configured for this. So we have, see if I can bring it in. So I've opened up you know, I created a node port for this admin server just so we can see it, but I've created a diagnostic module for WLDF, which is exactly similar to the one we used in the demo, which has a policy and an action, and a script action configured. And if we look at the script action used, let's see if I can show it. It's using the same script that I've configured or I've deployed into the domain in this path relative in the pod that's mounted in the pod. And the properties can be added, so you can customize, you can use the same script for any number of rules or policies for scaling up or scaling down. So in this case, I'm only passing in the scale up property just like I did on the command line. And so we can try that. So if I run curl, let's see, I have the domain. If I run curl against that manage server to create a session, because in this case, I'll show it in a bit. The policy we're looking at is so hopefully, let's see if, so it hit the application, sent back this page info. Not sure whether, it takes about 15 seconds, the policy, so it should be scaling. So we did scale up. So, I mean, similar to the same demo we did, but we go back to the policy just to show people the configuration of the rule. So the WLDF did invoke the same script I used manually, passing the same parameter. Like I said, you can modify the parameters for those actions and create many rules, whether for scaling up or scaling down, or however many other policies and rules you want to, or policies and actions you want to associate to the script, or create your create your own script. I was going to show, so I mean, these are all WLDF things. So, but in general, the idea being that the operator will do the modification to the custom domain to scale up or scale down based on what the client application sends through the REST API. And that's essentially it. That same REST API can be used from any horizontal, any autopod scaler that we want to use, or whatever metrics they want to use. So.